right, here we go. So, Brandy, hello. How are you?
I'm doing good, Chauncey. How are you?
I'm here. It's March.
Look at that already.
Yes. And welcome to all of you. If you're joining us, we hope you're doing very well. And keep in mind as we go, you can always talk to us in the chat and comments. We are looking there and we will respond. I'm Chauncey, your host for our EMP review, joined by Chef Brandy. And Chef Brandy, we are joined off cam as always by the amazing EMP Drea. Hey, Drea. So
Hey.
track what Drea is saying there in the chat and the comments, and we'll have a good time. Brandy, give us the whole membership spiel. What is going on with Entrepreneur Meal Plan?
Yes, Entrepreneur Meal Plan. If you are an entrepreneur or leader looking for ways to balance your body and your business, the Entrepreneur membership is for you. Now, what exactly is the Entrepreneur Meal Plan membership? The Entrepreneur Meal Plan membership gives you access to meal plans, recipes, and shopping lists of plant based foods that will help you to power your profits and your productivity with plants. In addition, you get the replays to these weekly live streamed entrepreneur meal plan reviews, cooking demos, questions, back and forth sessions. You get a resource center and you get to commune with a group of like-minded individuals who are trying to do the exact same thing, not even trying, people who are doing the same thing that you're doing, all for the low price of $30.23 a quarter.
A quarter. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, in this month, Brandy, is this Beet month or is it just today?
It is Beet Month. Yes, it is Beet Month. This year, if you guys haven't realized that Entrepreneur Meal Plan, we're doing themes so that we can go deep into vegetables.
Okay. So, January, we had to deal with kale. February was sweet potatoes. Okay. And now it's beets. All right. So, I will adjust myself for that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, what you have prepared for us today, Brandy, is a beet hummus.
Yes.
Entice us. What before you set this up? Beet hummus?
Yeah, using beets instead of chickpeas to make a hummus.
What's the point?
It tastes good. You get you get beets in your diet. Yeah, you can put it on sandwiches as a spread. Like beets have a sweetness to them, and then you can build those savory flavors into it. It's really a an interesting way to have beets. If people don't eat beets enough, beet hummus will like get you to eat it more.
So is it sweeter than chickpea hummus?
It's sweeter, but beets have a, as my dad always says, they taste like dirt. So they have a very earthy, savory to them.
Now we're really ready for the recipe. Thank you for that.
So that
Dirt hummus. Okay, there we go.
that grounded, earthy dirt is helps to balance out that sweetness. So it's not like super sweet, but it's definitely sweeter than chickpea hummus.
Gotcha. Okay. So with that said, let's get our dirt together, everything, and see what this hummus is about. And I'm interested, and of course we'll talk after as we go through. Remember, everybody, even as Brandy is preparing, if you have questions, let us know. So let's do our little transition, and Brandy will be back with us on the flip side. Bye for now.
Later.
Hey. So, beet hummus. Major ingredient is beets. Now, beets is something that a lot of times they take a lot of work to make, right? And a lot of times people don't like beets because they get that dye. You get that dye on your hand from beets. So companies have decided to capitalize off of that, and they are creating already cooked beets, so you don't even have to make them anymore. So this, when I make beet hummus, if I don't have any beets just laying around, I usually make them from these beets in the pack. And these beets, if you buy beets already made, they should literally only say beet. There should be nothing else in the package. It should be beets, the one ingredient, no water, no salt, no nothing, just beets. So anyway, this is what we're going to use to do that. Now, say for instance, and I'm going to put these on the plate so that I don't get beet juice all over the countertop, because beets also stain. They're a great coloring tool. Like, say for instance, Easter's coming in and you're making some Easter eggs and you want to use natural dyes. Beet juice makes a beautiful um, red dye, red pinkish dye for eggs. In addition to that, also say you were trying to dye a shirt, same. So this is just also a warning that if you're going to be using beets, put like an apron on, something that you don't necessarily want to have red dots all over when you're said and done. And some people go as far as to put gloves on, because beets have the tendency to also dye your fingers. So just prepare that when you're using beets. Now, I know I told you all these things that don't make you want to play around with beets, but the fact that we just took these beets out of the pack and put them into the food processor, that's a major development in how we used to have to deal with beets, because roasting beets from the skin, and we will do that at some point during this experience of the beet is on, as we're calling this month affectionately. We will show you how to roast a beet. It can be a little time consuming, and also, like I say, a little colorful. That's what we'll say. So literally, beets are the base of this recipe. Right now I'm digging some tahini out, because as you know, when you make hummus, the first ingredient that you put into the dish is chickpeas and then tahini. So we still got some tahini going on in there. We're gonna get that good tang from the tahini, that creaminess going. We're gonna use the same flavors. We're gonna put the cumin in there, because cumin's really tasty in this type of thing. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of onion powder. Onion powder is a salt replacement. Um, and I grabbed the onion powder that was not open. So let me get my open one. Onion powder, salt, and flavor. Like, I know we talk about it as a way to replace salt, but onion powder has a nice flavor as well. And some garlic powder. And I'm also going to add some fresh garlic too, because I happen to have some. Now, my mom, when I was a kid, she loved beets. Me personally was never really a beet fan. She would just eat them out of the jar on a plate. They never looked appealing at all. And one day in my adult life, I went to volunteer at a farm, and we were having a community meal, and this farm happened to have beets in the garden, and they still had the greens attached. And we had roasted them, and we sauteed the greens down, because this at this farm they used to make they didn't make you, but they highly encouraged us to have community meals together, and so everybody would kind of make something for the evening. And the lady who ran the farm had made this lovely, like, sauteed beet green, um these beet greens, and then also this beet salad that I'm going to share with you at some point during this experience too. And it really, because it's the thing that opened me up to the beauty of beets. Before then, I had no appreciation for this very nutrient dense recipe, rich rather, nutrient rich recipe. I mean, recipe ingredient. Um, but that really opened me up. So it's my introduction to beets that really made me interested. Now I'm adding, as you see, a juice of half of a lemon. This is actually a lime, the green version of the lemon. Half of a lime, and a zest of half of a lime. So traditionally in hummus, you would use lemon. I like the lime note in my beet hummus, even though the lemon one works too. I just like the lime, so a little better. So we're gonna go with that. And now I'm gonna mute because it's gonna be noisy. So give me 1 second. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells really, really, really good. I am just scraping the sides to get some of these beet pieces. I also poured in a little bit of water just to let it help it to break down a little bit because we're not using oil. So one more silence so I can get the rest of these beet pieces. All right, that's it. Literally, beet hummus. I'm gonna put it in a bowl, make it super pretty. You can eat this with pita bread, the same thing that you would eat regular hummus in. You can dip vegetables in it. You can put it on a sandwich if you're looking for a different type of dip or spread for a sandwich. Yeah, that's it. And it's a beautiful color. Like, look at how beautiful this is. Now, say for instance, I don't know, you don't have as many beets or you're concerned about a beet exclusive hummus and you're like, Brandy, I'm not buying this. This sounds crazy. What you can do to ease yourself into it is mix a couple of this, like some chickpeas and some beets, and you still get some of the benefits. It'll kind of let you dip your toe, so to say, into this beet hummus world. And it also doesn't become this, it's not as vibrant. It's more like a pink flavor, pink color versus the nice vibrant beet red or like fuchsia. There's more of a fuchsia that we have going here. So that's the difference. I'm just gonna top it with a couple of sesame seeds. That's a Brandy favorite. And I happen to have some cilantro, some fresh cilantro behind me. So I'm gonna chop that up and throw it in there as well. Give it a little bit of a color and a little more herbiness, so to say, a little extra freshness. It is pretty fresh. So just 1 second to chop that up. And I'm chopping the stems in addition to the leaf. I know a lot of times with our herbs, we want to only grab the leaf. Cilantro and parsley particularly, there's a ton of flavor that you're going to get from those stems as well. So don't let those go to waste. And there you have it, guys. A simple and yummy beet hummus. I'm going to see you back shortly to answer any questions.
right. So, you know what, Brandy? That it looked very festive.
That's a great word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen something made out of real food that was that red. I mean, it almost looks like there was food coloring in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe even in other dishes, if you want that kind of vibrant red, you just throw in some beets and see what happens.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So remember, everyone, as we have a little chat, if you have questions, comments, let us know. Type them in and we'll talk about it. Yeah. EMP Dre is saying it looks hearty.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you know, I had a fifth grade teacher who would use that word hearty all the time. She would say, I eat hearty.
What does that even mean?
No. Well, she eats a lot. That's what she meant. She eats a lot. She eat, you know, like potatoes and stuff like that is what I would assume. She wasn't talking about no beets. I'm gonna tell you that. Now, first question for you, Brandy. If you needed to cook the beets, what's the process? How would you do that?
I would roast them. That's the easiest way to cook a beet. In my opinion, you would put it into some foil. Well, soak it. They're dirty. Soak them. Get all of that dirt off the skin. Put them into some foil and then put them into the oven until they're soft. Now, you could get gloves and what do you call it? Gloves and a heating. What is that thing? A pot. What are those gloves? Those heat resistant gloves.
Yeah.
When they come out and like knife, take a paring knife or whatever and just like peel the skin off. Or you could just kind of wait for them to cool, put on some rubber gloves, and then just peel the skin off with your hand. That would be my recommendation. You can do it with your hand, but even me, like just using, I don't know if you can see, but even me just using it out the pack, like my nails are already kind of like red. They'll go away in a couple of days. I don't really mind having beet fingers, but that could bother some people.
Another question from EMP Drea. Here it is. What can you use the beet skin for?
That's a good question. I have never, ever done anything with beet skin. Beets, I've literally taken the beet skin off and thrown it in the trash. So I have no idea, but I will have an answer for that next week since we have a whole month to dive deep into beets.
Can you eat beet skin?
It's a good question. I'm sure you can, even though I have never seen any recipes or any images of a beet in my brain that still has the skin on it.
Because if it's edible, maybe you could make chips out of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I could think.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, chef, that's on you to try.
Yeah.
Now.
4 more opportunities to answer that question.
Another question. Why does onion powder work as a salt replacement? Why?
I think because it is kind of sweet and savory. It's interesting because onion powder I feel like has a sweetness to it and a savoriness. And I don't know, maybe the palate just is okay with the fact that like that sweet and savory thing, just the salt, you just don't need it. It may have the same, like a similar effect as heat. I think we've talked about the whole heat conversation, how heat can be used to replace salt. I think it's the savory and the sweet. And when I say sweet, it's not like super sweet, but it's that sweet note that helps us kind of get over the salt.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if scientists, which they won't do it, but if they looked into it, maybe where like the parts of the tongue, it might be the same receptors as salt. Interesting, but we will never know that. Another question. Nobody's funding that. Why is it good to combine garlic powder and fresh garlic? Why both?
That's a good question. I like to do both because I like the complexities of the two. I find that garlic powder is a little more potent than fresh garlic if you're using it raw versus if you're putting it in a pan. So when you saute garlic, it gets a little sweet, and there's like this. Yeah, there's definitely a sweetness to garlic that you don't really get when you use it raw. It's like the cooking process makes that happen. But the powder version still gives you like that intense kind of garlicky flavor that we get when we saute it. So the combination to me, especially when you're not going to cook it, is always like my preference.
Yeah. Question from EMP Dre. Question 2. would you add jalapenos to the hummus?
Absolutely. That's a great addition. And also even if you just wanted to finish it with just like a couple of them on the top, that would be really pretty too. That pink and green together. But yeah, definitely for a little spice. Cayenne will go well in this too.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do that, maybe you want to put a little jalapeno piece or two on top so people know. Don't
Yeah,
don't put that stuff in there and not warn people.
no,
Come on now.
that's not cool.
So again, if you have other questions, let us know. But I only have one more, and then we'll wrap up, Brandy. What's the difference between using lime in that recipe and using lemon? Because you said you could use both, but you chose lime.
Yeah, I personally feel like lime has a more like salty-esque, like it's like more salty and grounded, where I feel like lemon is more like sweet and light. Like that's how I kind of think about those two together. And so in this situation, like I've done it with lemon before, but the sweetness from the beet can really absorb that like grounded saltiness from the lime, and so that's why I prefer it.
Yeah. It sounds like it's just adding a punch to this as much as possible is a good thing. All right. So with that said, Brandy, tell us, how do we become members of EMP and so on, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, so you guys become members. EMP Dre is going to drop the link into the chat, but it's literally you just sign up at that site, and for $30.23 a month, you have access to meal plans, recipes, shopping lists, the replays of these live streams, a community of people just like you interested in feeding their mind, body, and business, and a resource center.
Wow. Okay. And of course, you get to meet with us every Wednesday. Speaking of which, next Wednesday, March 10th, we'll be back. The Beat is still on.
Yes, it is.
And we are starting again at 5:30 Eastern time.
Yes.
So we hope to see you then, everybody. Right?
Yes.
And Brandy, we're doing Life and Business Well still, right?
Yeah, and we're feeding our mind, body, and business more particularly.
Oh, look at you trying to do a little spin on that.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, this month is Mocktails and Munchies is back. That is our social gathering at the EMP review. So every week you guys get to come and meet us, to Chauncey, myself, our little banter, EMP Drea's in the chat, keeping everything going there. And you guys only get to talk in the chat. But at Mocktails and Munchies, we move this format over to Zoom. So we make it more of a social event. So this month, our Mocktails and Munchies is taking place on March the 17th. So invite a friend and be ready to come. It starts a little later. It's a little more but sophisticated Mocktails and Munchies. So get ready for our social event of the quarter.
Wonderful. So next week, we're back again, March 10th. At 5:30 for more beats. And then 2 weeks from now is Mocktails and Munchies. Okay, so we're going to go. Brandy, thank you as usual. I'll see you next week. And we'll always, of course, leave you with that ending image of the Beet hummus. Bye-bye.
Bye, John.